Hi, it's me, Chris Harder, and welcome back to Showboys, the podcast bringing you a glittery, gritty, full frontal glimpse into the world of boylesque. What is boylesque? We're going to find out. Something that has always impressed me about all burlesque performers in general is not only when they can manage to hold down a steady relationship, but also be in a relationship with another burlesque performer. And that is the case for my guest today in this very special double-headed edition of Showboys. I'm truly so thrilled to introduce you all to not just a burlesque power couple, but a couple of powerfully hot people. One is a backflipping, black belting, karaoke king, and self-described sky waitress. The other is a modern dancing, prancing, butthole bedazzling designer and self-described bundle of sticks. Both are title holders, show producers, and the possessors of so much body, as well as so many parts oddie. Please welcome to the Showboys stage, P.NoNoire and Faggedy Randy.
Wow, that was such a good, amazing intro. I love that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I feel like I should give that to every host of every show. That way they can announce me in that exact same way.
Oh my God, yes. I'll start. I mean, honestly, it's one of my favorite things about doing this so far is just creating these intros for each performer. So at first, when you didn't hear anything, I was like, oh no, they hate it. Or they.
I'm like, F this, out of here, bye.
Right. Okay. Well, how are you guys?
We're doing good.
We are doing good.
We're in chaos mode. We're preparing for lots of big things. So it's kind of like, when you get towards the finish line, but it's like still trying to prepare all the things you need to prepare.
Oh, 100%. What's the state of the apartment right now? What's your mental, emotional, physical states?
That's an interesting question because I think the apartment very much matches our mental and emotional state right now. Well, there's obviously a lot of stuff going on. And some of, most of it is pretty and wonderful and amazing and fun, but it's everywhere at the same time.
He's the more of clean it up as you go along person, and I'm the more explode and make the biggest disaster and have project piles all over the whole place.
Absolutely.
So it just kind of works out for me.
Yeah. It works out for Randy. But most of the time it's me cleaning up to make sure that we can do other projects that then explode again.
But you know what? I'm making a lot of the times I'm making very beautiful things, and they might be for the both of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's just how it works out.
Yeah, it's yeah.
I'm doing it for two.
Yeah, he's definitely more gifted in creating things. I'm really good at designing things. He's really good at designing things as well. But when it comes to like sewing and things like that, like if I were gifted in sewing, I'd be unstoppable. But I'm not. So yeah, that our apartment is getting ready for all the things, with BHOF for both of us and with Juneteenth, our Juneteenth show coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, and Pino, are you doing a step down number next weekend as well?
I am. I'm doing my step down on a Friday night, which is really, really exciting. It's a little stressful because without disclosing what the step down is, because I want to keep the people guessing at least until Saturday. But without disclosing what it is, I will say I'm extra in a lot of ways, and I can do a performance with just me on the stage anytime, but I decided to make it a big, huge production, and there's like 20 some people that are going to be involved in my step down. And obviously with 20 some people coming from 20 some odd different locations, it's a lot of moving parts. So I'm really excited about it, and it's going to be a really wonderful, meaningful, amazing thing to see.
You've already done the competition, and now you just get the stage to do like whatever the hell you want. So why not?
Exactly.
Make the most, be the most. Do you have a time limit when you do the step down?
I think it's 10 minutes.
Oh my God. That's great.
Yeah.
Right?
Isn't that sick? I mean, mine is, I think, somewhere around 7.5.
That's amazing. For those who are listening that don't know, when you compete for anything at Exotic World, your time limit is 4 minutes for solos, which is cutting it close, I think, for most people, because a lot of acts tend to hover between 4 and 5. So having 10
Yeah.
whole minutes.
10 whole minutes.
10
I mean,
whole minutes.
yeah, 10 whole. One of my challenges, or one of my personal challenges for self, is to not do all the things in some of my acts, which I do have acts where I'm not doing all the things in them, but I would die if I were on stage performing at like full P.No level performing for 10 minutes. I would literally need a defibrillator, oxygen, chest compressions, and possibly a transfusion of sorts. Yeah, it's some of my acts. Like the one I won with last year was, I mean, it was 340 or something like that, or 330 and some change. And it has always been that way. And I'm literally dead afterwards. So
I feel like there's a saying someone there, like, with great Pinot comes great responsibility.
oh, absolutely.
There you go. All right. Well, I have so many things I want to ask you about. Something I start off the podcast usually, partly because I'm compiling this into a larger project, but I'm just curious, what does the word boylesque mean to each of you? And how would you describe your personal aesthetics on stage? So, if folks haven't been lucky enough to see you guys on stage, what can they expect from a Pinot Noire performance and from a Faggedy Randy performance, respectively?
Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
You go first, dear. My love.
Okay. Okay. Weirdly, I don't want to sound like negative, but I feel like for me, I kind of let go of the term boylesque just for myself.
Same.
I used to hashtag, boylesque all the time on all my things, but then I just started moving into, I was like, well, no, but I'm like, I'm a burlesque performer and I'm just a male personality, but it's the art form of burlesque is the art of the tease. And so I'm like, nah, I'm just doing burlesque. So I just kind of dropped the boylesque part of it.
Same.
But I think like boylesque literally is just burlesque, and it's a male presenting anybody, kind of trying to give you a take on masculinity through the art of the tease. That's kind of how I would describe that. But I kind of agree with the way that things have been moving, and like I love the changes that happened at the Burlesque Hall of Fame this year with just degenderizing the whole category. Just so that, it's like, do we have to have a subcategory for every single different type of gender expression, But I don't care. And I'm also going to participate in like the Burlesque Festival because I am a male performer who does burlesque, and I would, I fit into that festival. So of course I'm going to do it. But I just kind of stopped throwing the hashtag around when I'm like tagging my photos and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then as far as question 2, what you can expect from me, I kind of try to keep it a little bit different. I kind of try to push myself to do something different every time I create an act. But there's always comedy involved. So I think you're going to expect to laugh really hard, and you can expect to maybe see me kind of push the boundaries of something a little bit too far. But I like to try to make everybody feel like they're comfortable and kind of do like a bait and switch, like where you think you're kind of getting one thing, and then I kind of slowly pull you along until, then suddenly there's butthole and you're like, oh my, wow. I guess that's kind of like my formula is something ridiculous. And I like to have, a fun, beautiful costume and
Yeah, a fun, beautiful costume and a beautiful butthole. Surprise.
a surprise.
I feel like we should have answered for each other.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, but now
whatever. You want to answer for me too? It's
no, because you kind of said. Well, I will add to your answer. How about that?
Sure.
Randy has he successfully blends like all the things that we appreciate about burlesque: the camp, the sexiness, the funny, the innovative. Like Randy does, all those things on stage, and with his creative process and how he makes things come to life on stage. That's like, it's all the things that I love to see, whether it's at a high level of, costuming, or if it's like the most basic concept, those are the things that we always want to see on stage. And Randy just, you can expect all those things really high on the camp, really high on the comedy, and there's a lot of really great references. Like he brings things like from specific reference points that are you get them and you understand them and you appreciate them. So those are
Mhm.
Randy's acts. You're never not laughing. You're never not going like, what the hell? Like what? Like why is this a thing? And why is it amazing? Like what is happening right now? So that's Randy. And I'm not just saying that because we nasty. No, he's amazing. To answer for myself, and Randy, you can feel free to chime in at the end afterwards. No, to answer for myself, Randy and I do share a lot of the things that we have in common are how we're on the same page about a lot of things, I should say, and one of those things is how I feel about the idea of a boylesque performer versus a burlesque performer, and it's not to crap on anybody that uses the term boylesque because that's your choice to make. I just feel like there's not that big of a difference, or in what I do on stage versus what a female presenting, or femme presenting burlesque performer would do on stage, other than, what I may or may not have under my underpants. You know what I mean? Like, so at the
Mhm.
end of the day, we're providing the same, ideally providing the same, type of, art. We're out there giving you the art of striptease in whatever way that we present it. So yes, I participate in burlesque festivals and things, but even those have shifted over time where it's not just all male presenting performers.
No, I feel like it's just celebratory of
Of the name that existed.
yeah, but also like celebratory of the name that existed, but celebratory of like I would say positive forms of masculinity. Like
Yeah. And so that's my opinion and my take on the actual term boylesque. Yes, last year I was the best in burlesque winner at BHOF, but I'm Mr. Exotic World or King of Burlesque. Like I didn't really utilize that best in burlesque winner unless I was
Mhm.
actually referencing something directly from BHOF. So that's that on that. With
Yeah.
regards to what people would expect from me on stage, that's kind of or I guess a multifaceted question because yes, I'm very acrobatic on stage. I like my musicality moments. I like, doing fun things that make sense to the music, but I think people expect me to do all the tumbly and crazy, choreography, high energy things when actuality, I have a pretty good range of acts. So I will say, if it comes down to it, the expectation is going to be that it's going to be high musicality, like I said, that is going to, I think, push or teeter between the lines of tapping into my masculine energy on stage, but also not being afraid to tap into the, female energy on stage, or feminine, I should say, energy on stage at the same time. So,
well, I'll just tack on to the end here.
Please.
I think you can always expect from P is like danceability, his attention to detail and like movement. His movement style is very wonderful and specific. He's very much a dancer, and he's very much brings the charisma and like yeah, he does like a lot of theater in his face or whatever. So he's just very high energy, very engaging, and I would say dreamy. He's captivating.
oh,
Yes. So it's highly talented, highly entertaining, and very like captivating. And I don't think anybody ever has been when he's done performing being like, oh, I was bored.
No, absolutely not with either of you. Well, thank you both for sharing that. And also, it's interesting because I think now you're might be my fifth or sixth interview, and everyone kind of has said pretty much the same thing regards to what boylesque is versus burlesque. A couple of performers talk about just the marketability of using the term boylesque. So I'm also not here to define.
I guess thinking about the term, but it happens with like any art form. But you know how you have like burlesque, and then you have Sharon Christine Aguilera burlesque, which isn't really burlesque. And so when I think part of one of the things that was kind of driving me nuts about boylesque, it seemed like the term kind of took off and people were just using it willy nilly for whatever. It was like, it looked like a go-go set and they're like boylesque. And I was like, no.
I'm dancing on stage. Hashtag burlesque.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, what you're doing is great, but
It seemed like it started to get co-opted.
Yeah, nary a reveal.
Here's the thing too, something that I'm interested about studying more is I do think what's interesting about burlesque or male presenting strip teasers is that unlike female burlesque, which very much has these kind of clear direct roots, I think burlesque draws on a lot of different performance forms or performers who might call themselves burlesque performers do. Anyway, so it's just something that I think about. Of course, there's differences between, what, a beautiful, highly adept dick dancer does on a bar top versus what, a male presenting stripteaser does, and I think there's connections there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how about this then? Because I just listened to both of your podcast episodes with Viktor Devonne, and then I went back and rewrote all my questions so that there wouldn't be too many repeats. And also, if you want to learn more about P.No and Randy, I highly suggest listening to WEBurlesque with Viktor Devonne, also on Spotify. How have your initial impressions of burlesque, what it is, what it does, how have they changed from those early beginnings to how you see it now?
Oh my God, that's such like I could talk forever about that, but I can like try to sum it up. Well, like when I first started, and it really wasn't, I feel like I was doing cabaret, I would say, not burlesque, but there were burlesque performers that came into the club and they would have like guest spots in our cabaret show. And I always thought it was interesting. And for some reason, though, like being part of this like little cabaret troupe, my brain just never clicked to being like, like do a solo performer and do your own thing. It never connected to me that it was like, that's something that you could be doing, is like just literally doing your own thing and not having anybody else have any say over anything that you do, which is what I gravitated towards later. But yeah, I like had that glimpse, and like people like Waxy Moon would come through, and like
Yeah.
Inga would come through, and yeah, it's just like we'd just constantly see. I'd get glimpses of like these performances and I would think they were amazing. But then for some reason just was like, yeah, but I'm here dancing at the cabaret. Doesn't, I didn't think anything more of it. But I will say that we would go, the owner did some shitty things, which a lot of straight male people would do. But we would go watch burlesque shows, but then they kind of had us thinking like negatively about the art form of burlesque. Like it would be kind of talking negatively a lot about the performers that we were watching, commenting just negatively either on like how, oh, they suck, or oh, they're boring, or this is blah. Like
The owner would take you to shows and then like have running commentary as the performances are happening?
yeah, pretty much.
Isn't that rude?
So there's like there was like a room that you could like watch the show, and then they had like speakers in the room, so you could like hear what was happening in the audience too, or whatever. But then it's like you weren't interrupting anybody, by talking during the show,
except for
it seemed like
me next to you.
Yeah, what I mean? except for us watching the show or whatever. But it kind of created this nasty culture of like shit talking. It was almost just like talking behind people's, it was talking behind people's back, but like during their performances. And so it kind of weirdly tainted burlesque for me in this weird way, because I was like, my introduction was, somebody that was a boss kind of telling me like, oh, this isn't good. And I ended up leaving that place, but coming into burlesque later was basically because of Ben de la Creme, like asking me to be in his holiday show. And then there was, Kit and Lou and there were some other people that were from the Bombshells that were also involved in the holiday show. So that kind of like started to open my eyes a little bit more to like that world and that side of like performance. And my character in that show ended up having an act that was I call it my first burlesque act. We like kind of set it together, talked about it together, came up with the ideas. Like I was a gingerbread man and I was like stripping and taking off my icing and removing my candy buttons to only like get in my own cookie tin and dump Santa's milk all over myself. but that was really fun. But yeah, so then that working with Kitten and Lou and working in that show made me fall in love with burlesque. And then when the Bombshells were holding auditions, I just was like, but do you need a boy-lesque person? And they were like, let me think about that. And then it wasn't that long after they're like, yeah, you're in. So I don't know. Then all my burlesque from there kind of like started to be created like within the guise of that troupe. Like it was very, mid-century or whatever the theme of the show was that they were putting on. I'd, try to create an act that had something to do with that. But then it wasn't until kind of like going out fully solo that I was like, oh, you just have to come up with, what's actually interesting to you right now, and not, based on any one theme or, like a style that a troupe does or anything like that. Go off on a crazy tangent.
No, thank you for sharing all that. I have thoughts, but Pino, how about you? What's changed from your early beginnings regarding how you see yourself, how you see burlesque in general?
I think that my inspirations, like knowing what inspires me and why, has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And that, so when I first started, I was a dancer for a long time, and I was dancer, cheerleader, martial artist, gymnast. Like I did all the physical things that I love to do, from a young boy child. I did all those things, and even into my adulthood, still dancing, still, doing cheerleading camps and things, and, coaching and all these things. And singing, my whole family sings, all these things that I've always wanted to continue to do, but I never really knew how to do them all at the same time. Like what's the thing that I can do that allows me to do all those things that I love. And so as you mentioned with your research, come on, research. Yeah, I did start, actually my first experience with burlesque was at Chicago Takes Off, which was a benefit show in Chicago here. It was a fundraiser for the Test Positive Wear Network
Mm-hmm.
here in Chicago. You can do your research, TPAN for short. If you Google it, you'll see all the information. I was a dancer for that, and Hot Toddy, was like, he knew me here in Chicago and was like, oh my God, this thing, let's do this. And I'm like, cool. And this was like starting like 2007. And I'm like, yeah. And I did that for a few years. And I started to see folks like Ray Gunn, who wasn't, I don't even think Ray Gunn had the name Ray Gunn yet, and I'm seeing these amazing performances, and like Coco Peru was there as one of the hosts one year, and I'm like, oh my God, I've always loved drag shows and things like that, and I know I'm not a drag performer, I've never connected with it in that way. I've connected with it in the performance, side of things, and the costumes and stuff like that, like and the dance and all that. And so as I moved into what eventually became my burlesque career, I found, the things that I can do and how they translate. And it's like, oh yeah, first it was like singing and hosting, and then it was like singing strips. And I'm like, well, why am I just doing singing strips when I'm a whole ass performer and I can dance it? And so I would see shows and be like, I can do that. So I'm just gonna start doing it. And so then I started doing it. And so initially some of my favorite things were what my reference point, how I translate it, to what I put on stage. Like musical theater stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
dance stuff, all the things that certain people like. Like I love Little Shop of Horrors. I love all the
Yeah.
little dumb things were my inspiration initially. And were there performers that I'd seen that were amazing that I loved? Absolutely. But what changed, I would say, is that I now connect specifically with, I think, music more than anything. And
Mm.
it's kind of, I didn't even realize until like a few years ago that like I love, or I've always loved funk, but like I love love funk music. And it's kind of changed the direction of some of my current acts that I'm creating. It's like the one I did at Beehive was, I love that act and it's so much fun, as high musicality, but I don't connect with it in the way that I connect with some of my more current acts do. And I think that's kind of me getting old, but also like but also just having a different cultural reference as well.
Mm-hmm.
And saying that part, that little cultural reference part, obviously the burlesque community, the burlesque culture is a thing, but me being a gay man and me being a gay black man, the first thing I was when I came on this earth was black. And we have a lot of cultural references and a lot of things that when I first started wasn't celebrated on stage.
Mm-hmm.
It's where there were so many references, they just weren't done by black people in a way that was as visible as non-black performers. So now, as a performer, and even when I was on stage at Beehive, my intention was not to get up there and be the you know, best burlesque performer that I can be and show this or what you think that you want to see. It was, this is something I created, and my black gay ass is on this stage being a representation of people who look like me, who may or may not be inspired by me, who I may or may not be inspired by. You know, this is why I want to do this. So at that reference of music and leaning into those, musical references and cultural references that I love, and also just existing, that's what's changed for me. It's like that part. It means something way different outside of just performance now, than it did before, when it was like, I can do all this shit, so I'm gonna do it and it's fun. And I've always loved it, but it's a completely different feel in that way.
Thank you both for saying that. I think performers who have been working for a long time, they really do have a body of work that stands for something bigger than just striptease as we think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's where the trajectory of my acts have gone.
Oh,
being
yeah.
like, how do I package up something really queer and like out of control in a package that everybody's comfortable with? Like, that's you know what I mean?
And if you're not comfortable with it, you're at least thoroughly entertained into comfort. Like, Randy does that real great. Like, it's amazing.
That's actually a great segue into my next question for you two. So Randy, you've talked about having a formula with the audience, and P.No, I believe at one point in your interview with Viktor, you were talking about how your cheerleading background helped you learn how to direct and take control of the audience in a way to, if I'm understanding correctly, kind of like tell them this is the show that you're getting and here's where you're looking. I'm just curious, how does that, how do either of those approaches tie into how you play with masculinity and how you deal with maybe some of these larger themes in your repertoires?
I think that world peace. No, I think that I say these things. I have like all sorts of like little nuggets and things I say all the time, and Randy will attest to that. It's like, I don't know where they come from, but like one of the things that I think takes or makes a burlesque performer is talent, and I think that talent is, when most people hear the word talent, they think the skills that you can physically do, and yeah, that's part of it, but I think that a big part of talent is being able to know your audience and read the room and know what you're getting into, and making your performance still be authentic to yourself, but play to that space. And I was, I hosted for a long time. I just hosted a show last night. Randy and I were both at Untitled Supper Club. I hosted and performed, and he performed. And I'm stupid. Like, I say all kind of shit on the microphone because I know that space. And that space is, there's a show there every Thursday, and it's not, it's not a theater space. It's a speakeasy sort of, like, it's an elevated, like, it's a supper club very much that has shows going on every week, multiple times a week. So the people there are not necessarily like, oh, I'm going to buy this ticket to this show. The people there are like, this is a date night, or this is a bachelorette party, this is a celebration, or, oh, I heard about this. It's Kevin and Karen going to their date night to spice it up and see some side titty on stage. And I know that, you know what I mean? So my connection to them in that case, I have to know the lane that I'm in and connect with people in that way. Like, I know that the general, like, straight cisgendered white dude who came there with, his girlfriend or fiance or wife and their friends are not necessarily wanting to see my half naked black ass on stage. Like, I know that that's the case. So what do I have to do? I have to entertain you anyway. And so I know that, for me, it does lend itself to some of the things I do on stage. Like, if I sat there and was, sexy and gritty and doing all the things that I can do and do on stage, and that was it, the average, bro is not going to be like, oh, I love that act. They're not going to. So what do? A goddamn backflip, which he'll go, oh shit, yeah, because that's the thing that I know, they will respond to. Something innovative that that I think is part of talent and part of knowing, how utilizing your skills and utilizing your performance ability in order to, I hate to use the word win over, but that's what we have to do, win over the space that you're in. When it comes to those, bigger spaces and theater spaces like Beehoff and things like that, that's a different baby, because those people watching know what they're there for. You know what I mean? They know what they're going to expect. What doesn't change for me is the level of, detail and the level of passion that I have for that space, whether it's a tiny stage or if it's a huge stage. I'm still going to deliver the same type of performance, just the most effective and the most appropriate for that space. If that answers the question.
It totally answers the question. No, I have so many other, yes, that totally answers the question. I hear that. Like, bottom line, read the room, know what space you're in and how to effectively if it's not winning over the audience, like deliver the show that makes you shine, makes the performer shine, and also satisfies them in a way. You know?
Yeah. What was the initial question? Because I literally
I'm looking back through. I do think there's something interesting, right? Like, especially because a lot of male presenting burlesque performers talk about this. The quintessential straight cis guy who's sitting in the audience thinking that he's just there to see tits, right? What is your approach to him, Randy? Or what, especially, and again, because I'm curious how those approaches change when you're in gay crowds, which sometimes I feel like can be almost more difficult.
Oh, it is actually.
It is.
Okay, so talk about that. Yeah.
I guess when I talked about that little formula, I didn't really understand that that's what I was doing right away. It took me a little bit to be like, oh, I have a formula. And I was like, oh, this is how I do it. And so then I kind of have like analyzed that and kind of thought about it. So now it always kind of enters my mind in the beginning of like act creation.
Mm-hmm.
But I always kind of think that's more entertaining too, is, if somebody doesn't just get face value exactly what it is right off the bat, then, that's a much better act, I think, if they can have some surprise later on, instead of being like, oh, I know exactly what this is going to be. And I can turn around and talk to my friend if I want to right now, because I've seen this before. But I feel like that's what happens to me with straight men, is somehow I still manage to amp up the comedy enough. I don't take myself too seriously during any of my acts. You know what I mean? Like it's a level of ridiculousness that I think reads, and they know that I'm poking fun at myself, while at the same time weirdly trying to be sexy, but also being like, and I know being sexy is sometimes like just a little ridiculous. And so they get that. So it's really weird. Like sometimes they'll just get like, bros afterwards coming up really wanting to fist bump me and being like, oh dude, that's just like, that was crazy. Like, but I'm there for it. And I'll talk with them and hang out and be like, oh, awesome. You guys really enjoyed it, and hang out and like have a good time. And I feel like that little like service industry mentality of talking to people afterwards and making sure like, it wasn't just like, oh, you saw me and it's done, is like, if you're hanging around and people do want to come talk to you and say that they enjoyed your performance, like you have to continue making them feel comfortable at that point too, So it's like, it's kind of all about pulling people along for the ride, and also kind of using your art form to change people's minds a little bit, So maybe they won't be so judgmental of queer things in the future. Maybe they're like, it's not so bad because I watched Randy stick a spyglass up his butt. Like,
put that on the magnet.
Yeah, put that on a magnet. But then the other part of that was, the gay part is sometimes I feel like my acts might seem a little hetero in the beginning, and it might seem to a queer audience like a snooze fest. And so they're like, doodly doo, like okie dokes. I don't really want to see this classic thing boring, because I didn't give them anything like ridiculous enough, because I feel like queer people, we're like,
well,
we're not easily enthused by, the same old. And I think also, it's just like, okay, you're doing classic burlesque or something, and it's like, oh, you're a guy and you got a boa and you're dancing to a song from the 30s. Like, that's kind of they're like, I feel like the gay attention span is a lot shorter.
Yeah.
But then they end up like, once I kind of like get into it and things start happening, they're like, oh, okay. Oh God, I pay attention.
But I think that the turning point, and I mean, it is what it is, because we're all gays in this circle, right? Yes. I think the turning point is when you get naked a little bit. So like sometimes like, should I have taken clothes off faster in this gay establishment? Will they appreciate it a little bit more? Not to crap on gay culture, but I think that some of the spaces that you are, that we're in and that we're booked in, there's a generational difference as well between us and our age demographic, and as performers and the actual people that are watching. And that equates to and directly correlates to the attention span too. So it's like, I can get out and do, if it's a high energy act of mine, they are seeing things and it's like, okay, this is whatever. But if it's a slower act and I'm not naked yet, it's like, you're on TikTok now, you know, like,
Oh
so,
yeah, you get to take it off.
yeah. So yeah, it is, it can be harder or as difficult in some spaces. But again, that's part of, you know, like I said earlier, reading the room and knowing the space and preparing yourself for the best case, you know, putting yourself in the best case scenario for that performance.
Yes, definitely. I mean, it's also, yeah, I think it's harder, especially in, I mean, I hate to say, like, I'm using finger quotes here, but like in more traditional gay bars, gay spaces, they're not necessarily accustomed to the kind of male striptease that we do, right? It's, you know, you either have a
Right.
drag queen or you have a go-go dancer, or you have a drag
Correct.
queen who's like finger banging a go-go dancer.
Right. They're more familiar with those things. And I think because, you know, there's certain, like, we have Drag Race, you know what I mean? We have a lot of things that are, you know, go-go boys are gay culture. You know, drag is a gay culture thing. Burlesque, even though it's queer as hell, is not necessarily as well known, you know, in the gay culture sense. You know, the musical theater is, you know, and,
Right.
you know, some of those things are more well known, but I don't think that burlesque, and I don't think in any world really, whether it's straight world, gay world, anything in between, I don't think that burlesque is as mainstream or is as well known. So for people to connect to it might take a second, unless it's like really, really entertaining. So.
And something else I just want to mention that I think you both touched on, and I know it's something that I think about, but you know, a part of
We're
burlesque.
touching right now.
What? Oh, are you? Are you? Aw. I'm touching my cat right now. My actual cat,
Okay.
not my.
Oh, I was gonna say whatever you name your parts.
Right, exactly. That's why I wanted to do this over the phone and not on Zoom. Well, part of burlesque is subverting expectations, right? It's striptease, but it's also introducing something to someone. I mean, at least to me, introducing this idea to someone and then flipping it on its head, whether that's what it means to be male, what it means to be sexy, what it means to be of any kind of identity, and causing a shift in a person's perception, whether it's a huge shift or it's like or it's that fist bump from that bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. So cool.
It's actually, it goes out to all the
I love
bros.
it when your fans turn into a butthole.
Okay, so I have some juicy questions for you both. You met at
Oh.
BHoF, yes?
Yeah.
I'm just curious, who hit on who first?
Oh, I mean, are we gonna tell the whole thing or?
Well, I guess I don't.
I mean, I did typical white person. I did the white person thing. We were introduced to each other by me making comedy
damn
of an
fool.
error.
Yeah.
I mistook one black person for another black person and went up to go give some congratulations that I thought were that were due. But there were congratulations that were due. They were just the wrong ones. And he literally looked at me and he's like, "You're not talking to the right person."
You do realize this is not the same black person, right? He wasn't. I wasn't the black person. It was someone else, and we were standing together, and Randy came over and started congratulating my friend and mistook my friend for someone else, and I was like, I'm like, I think I literally said, in a police lineup, yes, they are the same person.
It's okay.
But he immediately, after, you know, the taste of his own foot exited his mouth, he immediately realized and took accountability for doing the white people thing. And little did he know, I had already seen him and was like gawking over how pretty and attractive he is, and charismatic and electric and magnetic. And we actually met at the after party of the last night. This is when Icons and All Stars was on the Sunday. And I was, you know, all that interaction happened at the after party. And we technically, I guess Randy initiated conversation first because of that, you know, moment.
My mishap.
And then and then we started, you know, chatting and, you know, flirting a bit and dancing a bit, sort of, and yeah, we just kind of.
And then it didn't even end in sex or anything.
It didn't. We did not do the nasty.
It left in a phone number exchange.
It did. I tried though. I really.
Wow, I was gonna say that's so ungay of you two.
I know. Listen,
know.
not because. Listen, I was actively hoeing at the time. I'm just being honest, and I tried. Like I literally tried. If I scroll back to 4 years of text messages on my phone, which probably still exists, I literally tried.
Well, see, I was staying with Ruby, Mimosa, and Inga that year, and it was Inga's step down year, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so we were all like staying together, and it just was like, oh, it's the last night, and I just feel like I came with these friends, and we were having this experience, and I don't just want to like ditch them for a booty call. So I'm like, I should go. I should go like make sure I like go close out the weekend of ceremonies and having all the fun and doing everything and Inga's epic step down and just like share that moment still. And but he was like, I've got a hotel room somewhere else.
The funny thing is, I wasn't even there for BHoF. Actually, I was there on the layover for work, and it happened to line up. So I was like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna go to the last show," and ended up meeting Randy at that. I was only in Vegas for 15 hours because I had flown into Vegas and stayed there. And my hotel actually was at the MGM, like the Signature by MGM. So it was complete opposite side of Vegas from the Orleans. And so, yeah, I tried. And I'm not ashamed of it.
No. Well, I remember you two dancing together and thinking that you both looked so cute. And anyway, 3 years later, here we are. Well, that takes care of my next question, which was what was the pickup line? But you know what?
The pickup line was congratulations, Simone De La Ghetto, even though he was talking to Shimmy LaRue.
Okay.
And my pickup line it was in reverse. Like, you do realize you're not the same black person. And here we are.
And here we are today. I mean, if only more white people
it worked.
Some accountability.
It really worked. So
yeah.
Just don't be afraid to fuck it up. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to fuck it up, and don't be afraid to not fuck on the first
right.
Yeah. The actual moral of the story is if you don't know which black person you're talking to, just ask somebody first.
I was confident. Confidence was radiating.
Well, so pivoting away from that for a second. So I'm just curious. So you met at BHoF, right? And then you kind of started this long distance courtship.
Yeah.
It was like I knew he was a flight attendant because we had covered that. So then we had been texting and then he said he's like, oh, I have a couple days off work now. I'm flying home or whatever. And I was like, well, why don't you come here?
And here was Seattle. And I lived in Chicago. Well, I always lived in Chicago, but I was about to fly home to Chicago. And literally my flight home, because most flight attendants don't live in the city that they work out of. I was based in Detroit, but I lived in Chicago. And I was about to hop on a flight back home to Chicago. And that flight was in like 45 minutes. And when he texted me, I was walking to my gate. And he was like, you off for a few days, basically? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, want to come to Seattle? And I was like, okay. And so that flight was in an hour. So I switched my flight and flew halfway across the country. And yeah.
Wow. That is so sweet, though, truly.
Then we had nasty. Then we had
sex actually.
And then the sex happened. Bam. Bags off the floor. Pants off the floor.
Like, actually first. Like, it was like a reverse date.
It was like, okay, we've been waiting for this.
I feel like that's how all my dates go. They're all reverse dates.
You're like, well, the sex was good, so we can talk now.
Yeah.
Or if it was bad, you're like, okay, see you later.
Nice meeting you, block.
I mean, I should say I do have a boyfriend now, but I do feel like I know that for me, that is the litmus test. It's not so much do we have similar interests. It's are we gonna fuck good? And once that is established, then you can tell me about your favorite color and everything else.
Yeah, the best part is we had already established that we had similar interests, so we didn't really have to go through all that.
So I consulted what I consider to be really a foundational text of all relationships, regardless of sexual orientation, which is to say, I went to Cosmo's website and I pulled some of their questions from the couples quiz. Can I ask you a few of them?
Yeah, I love this.
Sure.
without thinking too hard about it, what are your love languages?
Oh, we definitely know this.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, one, food. Food is absolutely a love language for both of us. I love to eat. He loves to eat. He's a fantastic cook. Yeah, food is definitely one.
food. So something that I guess if you just push it into like daily home living, to me kind of know and recognize like how much he enjoys an apartment and a home space that is like clean and in
Yes.
order. And like when you're gone for 3 or 4 days in a row and you come home from work and you just want to relax, he can't really relax if it's like not a nice, tidy, clean home. So my love language, or his love language, that I try to provide and make him feel wonderful is like he knows I give a shit about him because I try to clean up and make sure that the apartment isn't a dump. Like I haven't completely destroyed it by the time he gets back home. And that shows him that I actually care about how he feels.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I will, I had him fooled for a while, when he was coming to visit Seattle. I'd be like, he could say, I'm going to come visit you. And I'd go, okay. And even if he said, I'm leaving now, I knew I had 4 hours to clean my shit
4
up.
hours.
Right. But so he was just like, oh, Randy's so tidy and clean.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I'm like a super mess maker, chaos person.
He's not dirty. He's messy.
I just get projects going, and then I have definite attention deficit issues. So I will get distracted and start another project, and another project, and another project, and then kind of skip around the apartment, bopping to different stations that I've made of little chaos creation stations.
And then those stations start to merge. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's part of a love language. I know is like I know he appreciates it.
Yeah.
And
I would say that one for both of us is we do a lot of laughing. Like all day, every day. Like he and I are cracking up at something literally all day. Like whether he's saying something stupid or I'm saying something stupid or we're seeing something, or we have a bunch of like dumb little languages that we, like dumb references that we know that we get, and that if anybody that didn't know them heard us, they would think like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, what is that even?
Crazy.
Yeah, like that's definitely a thing for us.
One of them is making like a hawking a loogie sound while you're talking.
That's so sexy.
It's so
and they'll
stupid.
Be like, give me a somebody like an artist name.
Da Vinci.
You do it.
Yeah.
But then like you just drop it like that in one word, so it'd be like, oh my god, you want to go see the exhibit?
Like we're stupid like that.
Just dumb.
Yeah, we're kind of dumb.
Pino, you tell me, what is Randy's love language?
Oh, I was gonna be the next thing that he was gonna say. He likes cuddly, touchy, physical, like let's lay down and just lay on me, and like caresses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay.
Just some physical touch. I like to be in, in proximity to, and like I just it's like it's a literal closeness. Yeah.
This is getting too cute. How about this? I came up with a couple of burlesque questions. Out of the two of you, who is the performer who's going to ask for pasty tape backstage in the dressing room?
Oh, neither of us.
Mm-mm.
I knew you guys were gonna say that.
Yeah, we're usually the ones giving people pasty tape.
I'm a psycho person when it comes to pasty tape and stuff, and we like each have our own little like kits that have like little fix it, like it might have a safety pin in it and some 4 or 5 different colors of thread in there and some needles and pasty tape and just a glue, something like, so that if anything goes wrong, you're like can at least do a quick fix and not be screwed, because that's we've done it enough to where that's happened. But also I'm obsessive about having enough pasty tape
to tape the entirety of the cast 15 times over. He has tape so much tape.
I found some really good ones.
Like, I don't think I have enough. I'm like, babe, you got enough.
Yeah, but I'll just like when it's time to buy pasty tape, I'm like, I'm gonna buy $200 worth of pasty tape.
Yeah.
Oh my god, how much is that? Like,
well, because we're gonna use it.
But no judgment. But I'm just like, I'm trying to like, what is that? How many rolls of tape is that?
Oh, we don't have roll kind. We have the tab, the kind that comes in tabs.
The
like
tabs,
it's like
yeah. And if
toupee and like wig tape.
a couple different kinds.
Yeah.
One is like I don't know. I've seen some other people with it, but a lot of people are like, "Where'd you get that?" It says "no glue, please" on the like adhesive, not the adhesive part of the sticker, but the whatever, the little wax paper that it sticks to. That's just the brand. It's called like "no glue, please." I don't know why, but
Maybe they're into saving
But
horses.
they come in a bunch of different shapes and, you know, straight pieces and curved pieces because they're typically for like toupees and wigs. But then I found some on the Amazon as well that is actually the cheapest pasty tape I've ever bought, but it has like a lot of stretch to it. So it's super sticky and it's stretchy. So if you're taping something to your body and you're kind of like jumping and twirling and doing all sorts of stuff, it's less likely to pop off because it
stretches with you.
Stretches with you.
Yeah, and it takes a miracle to get the shit off. Like sometimes. So
Yeah.
But that was the long answer. I mean, obviously it's happened to all of us at least once, but no, we're usually the ones that have the pasty tape.
Obviously very passionate about pasty
We're
tape.
passionate as fuck.
I feel like this is your side hustle. It's like a pasty tape emporium.
We're like dealers. Yeah, we have a pasty tape cartel. Like in the like they're counting our pasty tape right now in our secret room.
I just never want to run out. You know?
No.
I'm just like,
No, yeah, I do hate being. I mean, of course, everyone runs out at some point, but yeah, I hate being that person who has to ask for anything.
Well, that's the other thing too. Is like, I guess being like a sweater. Like we're both sweaters when it comes to the performing. Yeah, we get moist. So sometimes, you know, if you don't have your own pasty tape and somebody else is like, "Oh, I've got some," I'm just saying it because it has never worked for me. But like someone's like, "Oh yeah, I got pasty tape," and they give you top stick, and I'm like, that
carpet tape
does not stick to me at all. Like I don't care how much, you know what I mean? Like if I use
this is made a stupid joke.
Oh, okay. What was it?
Like, well, top stick would work for a top.
Oh, I guess that's why it doesn't work for me. Chris,
Oh my
I'm
God.
not a top.
But seriously, think about the branding, right? I feel like this is an opportunity waiting to be had. What is it?
I should create verse stick.
Verse stick.
I'm verse.
Really?
Instead of top stick, verse stick. I don't know. They're a pretty bad joke.
No. I'm here for it. I'm here. We're not judging on the pod. You stick whatever you need to stick, however you need to stick it.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, that concludes the Cosmo quiz. I have just a few more things for you. So you both, along with Samson Night, you're a trio of very successful producers. You have BAWDY SUIT, which is the production company. And you now, is this the third or the fourth Juneteenth jump off?
This is year 2 of live, like in person.
But fourth Juneteenth show.
Okay, yeah.
So we started it during the pandemic online, and we did 2 years of it online.
Yeah, we did 2 years the Juneteenth kickoff because we did it the day before Juneteenth.
Right.
When the first one that we did, it was kind of a last minute pivot from another production we were putting together, and we knew that there were Juneteenth shows that were already in place. So instead of like having a virtual show that would step on the toes of other Juneteenth shows, we were like, well, let's do it the day before. And so we had the Juneteenth kickoff for 2 years virtually, and then last year was our first time doing the Juneteenth jump off, which is on the actual date. And so this year, in a few weeks, we have the Juneteenth jump off again happening live
in Chicago at the Den Theater on Monday, June 19th at 7 p.m.
Central Time. Tickets are available.
Thank you for breaking that down. Are you also streaming this too?
We're working on it. We have some people working on it in place, so I think we're gonna try to stream it this year. But it's kind of like a bunch of moving parts, you know. Like we are both kind of tackle different areas of the production, and so does Sam. But it's interesting working, you know, with Samson in New York, and we're in Chicago, and then a lot of the time, you know, P's off flying somewhere. So I'm always trying. I guess I'm the graphics, logistics, marketing person, and then P is more on actual like a live performance, running a show, like tech type person and organization. Yeah, he's like organizing all of the files, creating all of the spreadsheets, doing everything like like all of the admin.
And venue stuff. Yeah, I'm venue. That's my strong point, which is funny because I'm the least technically savvy of the three of us, but I am like spreadsheet person.
Oh, I love nothing gets me hotter than a spreadsheet. Yeah.
Oh yeah, spread those sheets. And then Sam is more of the communication person. Um, Even though Randy does a lot of promo work, Sam definitely manages the bodysuit like social media stuff more than we do, for sure. Because I'm not a social media person. But he also does a lot of communication, a lot of the writing things that we need to do.
Reaching out to people.
Yeah, reaching out. He's,
emails.
Yeah, he's the chocolate charmer for a reason. He's charming.
Oh, yes. Yes, he is incredibly charming and talented, as you both are. Producing is challenging already, especially if you're also performing in a show. But I also think can be challenging to find the right fit with friends to produce with. What are your tips for people who are producing as pairs, as trios? What have you learned from working together?
Definitely divide and conquer.
Yeah.
Really if it's 2 producers, if it's 3 producers, you just figure out what those tasks are or what the parts of producing are that each person is actually going to be the strongest at and enjoy doing the most, and feel confident in. And then you just got to give each other the space to try for me, it's try your best not to micromanage. I'm really good at micromanaging. Yeah, you know what I mean? I'll be like, you do this, but then for some reason I'm like over there with trying to put my fingers in it. And
I'm very good at saying stop micromanaging. Another thing I think along with that is having an open line of communication between you and whomever you're co-producing with, in the way that, like, just don't assume that you're on the same page, because most of the time if there's 2 brains, you're not. If there's 2 or more brains, you're not on the same page about everything. And that's a good thing, because it really does allow whatever your ideas are to be heard and mutually. And also it's making sure that whatever production that you are putting together is truly a reflection of what your compromised goal is, what your cohesive goal is, as opposed to, oh, well, this is all Randy's idea, or, oh, this is all, Sam's idea, or, oh, this is all.
It's got to be something we all want to do.
Absolutely.
And I feel like with the bodysuit name, if any of us ever want to produce something that is like, and use the bodysuit that the other 2, or not the other 2, but like another person like either isn't available for or might not be interested in, I think it's like, as long as it aligns with all of our goals and what we think is appropriate for our mission as a trio of producers, I think we're always going to be supportive of each other. And one more thing to tack on, I think you really just have to make sure that you and your production team partners, you have a level of respect for each other.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to step on each other if you have respect for each other, and you're going to make that space to like be open to different ideas, to listen to, everybody's wants and needs, and make sure that like the main goal is something that everybody's actually truly interested in doing and happy to work hard for, because it's like a labor of love. We're like trying to produce something and put something out in the world because we want to and we care about it, not just if we wanted to make $1, I think we'd be doing something a lot different. we would be producing way differently than we are right now, but we are not, right? Like, it's like the money is not.
We'd be another well-known organization that is not a good one that everyone knows about in the world. But like, if that were the case, I'm not going to say their name.
No, red flag.
Tell me after the recording stops.
Oh, absolutely. But no, that is very much a big thing. Like, all of us as individuals, I think that that ego is a very big factor, and it's one that the 3 of us as individuals, we're obviously aware that we're all successful individually, and we not only respect that, but we know the importance of not letting our egos individually get in the way of what our goal is. You know what I mean? Because it's not about that. And none of us, none of the 3 of us, I guess I can speak for myself as well, but none of the 3 of us have that issue of where I'm like, oh, I'm I'm better than you, or you're better than me, or that none of us have that. We respect and love each other in a way that's like almost throuple status. Like it's like
there's the accountability factor too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I feel like if anybody's gonna screw something up royally out of the three of us, it's gonna be me. But it's like amazing to be like, I have these two people that I love, admire, and respect that I get to work with, that also I always have to think about my accountability for, like, you know, not just like, what does this do for me? But I'm like, well, this fuck things up for Samson and P.No too.
Yeah.
Like making, you know, it's like, you just are like, okay. Or if you ever question something, it's like, hey, can we get the three of us on a line together so we can all kind of like hash something out and be like, what's the best decision that actually, like, you know, for the three of us.
And it can be the smallest thing, you know what I mean? Like, I will, if our text message thread is never ending, because it would be the smallest, dumbest question. Sometimes just text like, hey, da 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 da, and it's like, I don't know about that, or, you know, like, let's schedule a call and talk about it.
Mhm.
You know, and I think that's very important. Again, that's with that line of communication. And one other thing too is, and Randy kind of just touched on it a little bit, respecting the different levels of response like each person has. Like I joke around about this all the time. Like Randy's like, yeah, and Sam is like, I don't know, and I'm like, no. Like that's how. So, or the other way around, where I'm like, yeah, and Sam is like, I don't know, and Randy's like, no. Like that is a healthy, you know, spot to, right. That's a healthy spot, I think, to be in as co-producers in general, because it's not just, you know, coming from one vantage point or from one perspective. Is coming from three different perspectives and weighing into those and communicating until you find that spot where it's like, okay, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we've definitely had things where we argued for like
for sure.
4 or 5 hours straight, and like so we like all came to a being like, okay,
this is it.
You're right. But it took that long to get there.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you all have incredible communication skills, which I'm sure also like plays into your personal lives as well. So that's fantastic. Kind of a question I guess I haven't asked it on the pod, but I'm certainly asking other performers as well. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here, but it feels like in addition to all you do with Body Suit, diversity is a huge component of your productions. And the promotion of diversity. How do you think the burlesque community at large is rising to this challenge of creating more diverse shows and cast lists?
For me, as you know, the white member of our as a white male, even though, you know, I've got the gay card working for me. I think that there's people that are, you know, there's definitely entities and people who care, and there's communities that are out there who are really putting in the work to try to make sure that that our art form specifically, and not just you know, in a worldly manner, like, but care about justice and care about equality and care about, you know, people being treated equally and paid equally. And I know there's still people out there where it's like, okay, well, there's not very diverse shows, or, you know, some people just actually don't care about it, or, you know, you might live somewhere where there's just not a diverse population in your area, so your shows just look a certain way because that's who lives there. But there's still people who do a lot of work trying to, you know, mix that up, and you know, I think a lot of people are doing the best that they can, but not everybody's there for that. You know, a lot of people are kind of there for more of a popularity contest maybe, or what they perceive to be looking the best burlesque, or, you know, the best body types, or the best whatever. But that's something that I just love about the three of us, and there's other people doing the same work. It's either creating a specific event around some kind of type of marginalization, or if it is just like an event that's the theme is burlesque, I feel like we try our best to be like, okay, at the very, very minimum, our cast is going to be 50% POC, and we're going to have a lot of queerness. We're going to make sure there's trans people in there. We're going to have a lot of different body types. We're going to and the proof is, you know, just there, where it's like, I feel like every time we've produced a pretty bang up show, and it's highly entertaining, and the talent is real wonderful, and there's no reason. So it's just kind of like proving the point that there is no reason to not cast shows that way.
Like literally, I think that there are, you know, a lot of productions that have risen to, I don't even like saying the phrase risen to the challenge, because it's really not that challenging to do. Um, and most of this, if not all of this, interview has been positive, and that's great. But there are some things that just need to be said, and there are folks that, during the uprising and during the protests and things, were very performative in some of the ways that they were, casting, like, oh, we need to do this and we need to do that. And then the moment that it wasn't trending anymore, it stopped. So that's just being real. And I think, we've all seen it. You know what I mean? We're in the age of the internet. People promote their things on the interwebs, and we see it. And I just think it's too damn easy to cast diversely. It's too easy. And I think that one of the things, that's again back to the conversation of ego. With ego, oftentimes comes insecurities, and sometimes folks' insecurities dictate how they book, shows, and how they think that people should, what they think people should see, etc. And that's a very real conversation that some people aren't necessarily ready to have. But how I book a show shouldn't be what I think, is what I think is the best look aesthetically, or because we dealt with that shit for fucking ever, and we're all kind of over it. You look at, if your friend group even, or the people that all look the same, that's a problem. You know what I mean? Like, and if you expect your audience to come out and see something and be engaged in something and connect with, the show that you're putting in front of them, guess what? Everybody in that audience doesn't look the same. They're going to want to connect in a way, they're going to want to connect with, different body types. You're going to want to connect with folks that have different ways of moving. They're going to want to connect with different cultures. They're going to want to connect with a lot of things in that way. So it shouldn't be about checking boxes.
No.
You know what I mean? Which is a thing. Yeah, I'm very proud of us as a production team, because it's not, we don't really have to we do more like, okay, wait, like, can we edit the cast down, and it's not because we're like,
can we save somebody for next
right week? Like, that's kind of where we are as a cast, because my idea of what a good cast and show looks like, and Randy's idea and Sam's idea has all the things in it. And it's not just because, oh, we should have a trans person in the show, or we should have a larger body person in the show. It's not about that. It's like, this person is a badass fucking performer, and they happen to be, a trans person. They happen to be, their body type might be different than mine. And
it's just a different flavor too, and a different expression when you have different people, like, from all different walks of life and different, you know what I mean? Like, whether it's a body type, or whether it's a sexual identity or gender expression or race or whatever, it's like that, those different perspectives, they do shine through in people's performances and in their art, from like where they're coming from, the type of art that they create. So that also just lends to your show being that much more interesting and having that much more like depth and range in like the length of your show. You know what I mean? Like, you're just, everybody's going to bring something different, because everybody's coming from a different place and a different perspective. So why not? Why would you not? I don't understand.
Yeah, 100% to everything you both just said. Thanks for saying that too, P.No. It's not about rising to the challenge. It's just opening your eyes and just understanding that all the performers are out there. So the job is actually really quite easy, as far as...
It really is so easy.
I don't know. I feel like, as a white producer of a Juneteenth show, I feel like I hope that it's an example for other people that just because something is not your culture or your place to, you know what I mean? It's like, I feel like you can still celebrate something, and you can be a part of it by celebrating and like wanting to make something happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, even though, Juneteenth is traditionally, we'd say like people would be like, oh, that's a black holiday. It's like, no, that's not. I don't think that's a black holiday. I think that's everybody fucking holiday. It's a national holiday, and we're celebrating a monumental part of our country where, slavery, quote unquote, ended. And for people to be like not comfortable either being like, oh, if it's going to be an all black cast, I don't know, feeling uncomfortable going to a show like that. It's like,
yeah,
wrong. Like, why do you feel uncomfortable showing up to a show and supporting something amazing and seeing, like a different perspective. So it's like, as a producer, I'm like, why would anybody have a problem being a part of trying to help make that type of production happen? It's okay. Not everything has to be for you to enjoy it, or to like participate, or to do something to try to make something like that happen. It's okay.
And nor does it have to be about you. And I
Yes.
think that Randy, I mean, obviously I love him to death, but I think that one of the things that I love so much about him in that way is that Bodysuit is done, like, I think this will be like our 9th production overall or something like that. And 7 of them have been PLC. Like, and it's not, it's not about just assuming credit and that, oh, I did this, I made this happen. You're a part of the team that made it happen. And one of the things that I love about, Randy especially is that he doesn't make it about him, but he is involved in making it happen. Like, so involved, like beyond, and but like it wouldn't happen without him. And I think that for some folks, it's more important to get the accolades and the pat on the back and the validation from doing a thing that they're involved in, like a Juneteenth show. It's more important for that to happen than it is for them to actually just participate in celebrating it and making it happen and taking a back seat.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, doing the work, not just to get the Instagram likes.
Correct. Oh. Hate social media.
I know.
I mean, that's something that you just said that, but that just like ticked a little nerve for me, where it's like, how it's like, whatever, how lame, like just social media is. I know that if I put up a picture of myself that's mostly naked, I'm going to get, the most likes that out of any of the rest of my content. So it is kind of frustrating being like a producer of, when it's like, if I put up an image of anybody else but myself, you don't get all the likes, you don't get the shares, you don't get the comments, you don't get anything. So it is kind of frustrating to be like, okay, I know I have this many followers, and I know that, when I put up a picture of myself almost naked, that, I get like, I'll get like 1,000 likes on it or something over a period of a week. And that's amazing. But then it's frustrating to be like, and now we put out the promotional material for like a show that I'm helping produce with my 2 co-producers that we're really passionate about. And it almost seems like nobody gives a fuck because nobody hits the like button. And you're like, why? Like, is it that hard for you to to just support something that somebody else is doing as well, other than giving you eye candy? It's kind of a frustration for me.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, this is not the same thing, but the way that I'm promoting this podcast is literally by posting it by my asshole. So it's...
Yes. I don't think that's appropriate for me to do.
Here's my booty hole. Here's my booty hole. Come to the Juneteenth show.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
No. You will receive anthrax in the mail. Is that still a thing? Are we still anthraxing?
I mean,
No.
I gave that up a long time ago. Final question, I guess. Actually, no, 2 questions. After tonight, after BHoF, after Juneteenth, what is the next project, or are you going to get a vacation with each other?
We tried that.
That's a story for a different podcast. Honestly,
we're gonna get a mini one.
We're gonna get a little mini vacation, but we are slowing down a little bit. Not to say that there won't be other shows and things that we're doing, because we definitely have bookings and stuff like that. But we've been running from crazy people for the past 2 years at this point, nonstop. And it's not to say, again, we are still bookable. If this is going out there, people are like, oh my God, they're retiring. No. We
want to be booked.
Yeah.
We just need to be more selective about the bookings, and not selective by means of, do we want to work with this person or not? It's more selective about when we take the booking, because both of us being individual performers and also wanting to spend time together, and also just like spend time at home and have like some sort of a semblance of like a home life that we can be in and enjoy our space together. We need to not say yes to all the bookings. We've said yes to like every single thing that's come our way, and it basically like ended. We feel like we're about to crash and burn, so we're like, okay, we're dedicated to being like, all right, we will leave town once a month, maybe twice if it's like if it's so crazy that we can't pass it up. then we'll do that, but being like, stop leaving every freaking weekend.
Yeah, but we've got shows in Chicago, obviously. I pulled up our burlesque calendar. Randy's doing Pride stuff in Seattle in June. We're both doing stuff in Seattle in June. We've got Queer Prom in July in Seattle. We've got the Tattoo Expo and also What the Funk Fest. Both of us are doing Spellbound at some point this year in Phoenix. We got stuff in Madison, but that's all through the end of the year. And, just more time for us to kind of chillax and be engaged and plan a wedding.
Yeah, we also, that's the other part, is like we've had zero time to plan our wedding, and we don't actually have a date, but we have a time when we would like to do it, but we can't really set the date until we know that we have the venue locked down. So the venue isn't locked down yet, but if we're going to be supposedly getting married in September of next year, we have to kind of like
take a break to focus on that.
Yeah. Well, I did have one business venture for you two. Can I suggest it?
What's up?
I think, what about an OnlyFans, but it's just the two of you like in feathered fans, and you're just like fanning each other the entire time. It could be fully clothed. It could just be feathers. I thought this was so much funnier as I was writing it.
That silence was not that. It wasn't that silence. It was a silence because we both looked at each other because we've had OnlyFans ideas before. One of them is a show that I think we still want to do.
Yeah.
But I don't know, do we like spill it so that other people steal our idea?
Well, I guess if we say it first here and we say it's our idea.
We said it first. It's our idea. Back off. I think we can't. The problem is that we have to figure out a good way to market it. And by calling it OnlyFans, I think it'll be hard to market on social media because all of that gets blocked constantly, correct?
I think that's what I'm
like if you ever mention OnlyFans, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm sure. I don't know. I feel like I've been shadow banned since like the day I was born, so I have no clue how it works. But yeah,
it's crazy. Like literally, if I have to type Randy's full Instagram handle and then scroll in order to find him, and he's my freaking fiance that's tagged in like 90% of my photos. But anyway, yes, our idea was to do a show called OnlyFans, and the whole show is fans, whether it's fabric fans or feather fans or a fan that blows or some sort of fans,
fanning, like
the whole thing.
And then, but have it be a traveling show that we can take to different cities and then work with, the cast, or not the cast, but, people from each of those locations that have a fan act of some sort, whether it's an electric fan or whether, it's a fabric fan or a feather fan or something having to do with fans, like just have an entire show that's only showcasing fan work would be really funny.
I love that. I'm here for it.
But I mean, that's kind of what we want to do, is like we want to work with people from all over the place constantly and work with different, communities. And so I think that's like a fun vehicle to do that. If it's like, oh, you bring like a small handful of people into the city to and then maybe like work with the co-producer, somebody else who produces in that town, and to kind of come together and make a one of a kind, one time only show.
Yeah. On the note of social media, where can people find you on all the platforms?
Well, they can. I am Faggedy Randy. That's Faggedy spelled raggedy with an F. FAGGEDY RANDY, and that's my email address, faggedyrandy@gmail.com. That's my Instagram handle. I can be found on Facebook that way, but also my Facebook that gets the most attention is not that. How like they did that thing back in the day when they kicked people off that didn't have a real name. Like if you didn't use your government name, Facebook, I had Faggedy Randy and they kicked my account was closed. So then I opened up my one with my actual government name, Randy Phillips. And then it says in parentheses, Faggedy Randy, so that I can have people note it as that one has like the most people, and like that's where most of my like posting happens. But then someone was like, you should have a fan page, and so I tried to open a Faggedy Randy fan page, which it does exist, but I don't pay that much attention to it. So Randy Phillips is the one to look for.
Social media for me is on Instagram is P.NoNoire, but it is not spelled like the wine, contrary to how so many people try to tag me on things, and it's wrong. It is P.NoNoire on Instagram.
Yeah.
And it's the same on Facebook, except for there's no dot. It's just P.NoNoire, because Facebook wouldn't let me do a P dot. They said that's too much punctuation, apparently.
You can't have punctuation in your actual name.
Yeah.
No one can have that.
No one can. So P.NoNoire is on Instagram, P.NoNoire on Facebook. My email is pnonoire@gmail with no periods or dots.
Yeah, goddamn you, Mark Zuckerberg. Well, I'm gonna have all this information tagged in the episode as well. I just want to say thank you to you both so much for being so candid, for being so flexible with all of the back and forth. I just admire you both so much. I think you're incredible performers, and I know we haven't really gotten to work together that much, but I just know that I'm a fan, and I'm so happy that you're on the Showboys podcast.
Well, thank you.
We're a fan of you too.
Yeah, we are definitely fans of yours. And actually, two of the most hilarious acts I think that I've seen came from you at New York, the New York Burlesque Fest. And one was the workout video.
Kelly Kapowski.
Oh my God. No, it's not Kelly Kapowski. It's Jesse Spano.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Jesse Spano.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm revamping her a little.
That's hilarious. And the car wash one is just really fucking stupid. I love that. So no, we would love to work with you again sometime soon, or in a different capacity. And maybe we can communicate about that.
Oh yeah, totally. Well, until then, I'm wishing you both fantastic shows tonight, next week, on June 19th. If you're in Chicago, make sure you go to the Juneteenth Jump Off. I almost said kickoff. Juneteenth Jump Off on June 19th. I'm going to tag all the info. Until then, listeners, stay tuned for our next episode, and thanks so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
bye.
Thank you for listening to Showboys. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you didn't like it,
you are a whore, darling.